Hello, everybody. We're going to talk a little bit today about how to increase your income if you're in a low income situation or an income situation you don't want to be in, it's too low, or you're in a poverty trap. So, my name is Maurice Kemner. I'm an attorney, real estate broker, and coach and counselor. So, anyway, welcome to True Legacy Wealth Media. When I was in sociology in college, I had quite an epiphany in one of my classes where they talked about social mobility in different societies. And what they said was that all these studies have shown that, at that time anyway, about 80% of the people in the United States end up in the same social economic class as their parents. They end up with about 80% end up with the same religion, 80% end up living in the same regional part of the United States as their parents. And I remember thinking to myself, I don't know if these are good reasons to have a religion or live in a certain place just because my parents did it. I would think that you would want to analyze these things and think about them. And that's what I think. I think you should think for yourself. I think you should think about where you want to live, think about what your beliefs and values are on your own. And one of the reasons why people end up in the same financial situation is they get all their financial advice from family members. And I had a lot of wealthy people in my family growing up, and we sat around talking about money all the time. And by the time I was in junior high school, I knew how to read tax returns for businesses and individual things that were going on in the family. I lived on a big farm. I could calculate profits or losses on all kinds of crops. And whenever they were sold, and they said, well, we sold this hay for this amount, I could figure out right away what the profit was and what the taxes were going to be on it. That's just because my parents told me stuff like that. So if your parents haven't talked to you about this kind of stuff, or they talk about other stuff, or they tell you get a good job and stuff so you can get a good career, well, that's what you're going to do. If they tell you to acquire assets to generate cash flow, do it as a family, moving from generation to generation, you're going to think about stuff like that. So it's okay to be low income or poverty. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not immoral. It's honorable and decent. I mean, not everybody has to be rich, right? And I don't think having a lot of money, I mean, I'm a multimillionaire. I'm wealthy, but it's not all that. I mean, really, it's not the thing that makes you the happiest in your life, right? And I don't disregard people I know who have lower income levels than me or just think less of them. But when I want to talk to somebody about money, when I want to talk to somebody about running a successful business, I usually look to people who have made similar accomplishments or done things that I haven't done that I want to do. Those are the people you want to talk to, right? So if you're in a poverty situation, you're going to want to talk to people like that, people who are in a situation where you want to be in, right? If you do what everybody else does, you end up like everybody else, right? So if you're talking to a certain group and you listen to what they say and you do what they do, you end up like them. That's it's just that simple. Okay. So one of the ways you can get advice and opinions from other people, if you don't know them, you can you can join organizations or just find different ways to meet people that can help you with these kind of things, right? But you can watch YouTube videos like this one. You can read books. There's all this information is out there. None of this stuff is really a secret. Okay, it's there for you if you want to learn it. Okay, and I hired a girl once, and I just want to tell you about this because there's a lot of people that'll try to stop you from doing better because you're in a pecking order with your friends and family. And people like the pecking order the way it is. They don't want to see other people move up, believe it or not, sometimes, because then it makes them at a lower position in the pecking order relative to the person moving up. And this really bothers people a lot more than you think. And this girl, she worked for me in an office. She was an immigrant and she was learning typing and office skills and all kinds of things that could be really useful. And when she was at home using typing, learning software, everybody was laughing at her and making jokes while she was trying to learn stuff. Her mother, even one day, took her shoes. So when she got up in the morning, she couldn't go to her job. This girl, I really respect her because she went out and she bought a pair of shoes and put them on and came to work anyway. And she was on time, believe it or not. So her mother just didn't like that she was moving into some other social economic class. So you might have to deal with that. Just be aware of it. Don't let people put you down or criticize you for being successful. Okay, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with not. There's nothing wrong with being successful. It's just a simple choice that you want to make, right? And if you want to have higher income or live at a higher level financially, then these are just some of the things that you have to do. Now, one of the other things you have to do is you have to have some kind of a skill that people are going to want to give you money for. I mean, you can learn how to do YouTube videos like this. There's people who will pay you to do their YouTube videos. And you can work at home, you can be online. See, that's an example. You can do websites. You can learn how to do that. You can learn how to do all kinds of technological things. You can, if you have skills as a person who's handy with things, fixing things like that. You can be somebody who's like a handyman or person. Um, there's all kinds of consulting you can do if you have certain knowledge, or you can gain certain knowledge about things so that you can consult with people. You can do this from home. You can do this online. This is one of the things you could do from your home, those kinds of things, for example. And you just look around for something you like. I'm just giving you some basic ideas here. And I've talked to a lot of people and help them with this kind of stuff. We just have a long conversation about what's out there and what's possible. But there's endless opportunities for you. You just have to look for them. Okay. And you find these things. Okay. Maybe you want to become a beautician, things like that. And you can make millions as a beautician. I've seen people do that. So how do they do that? Well, I'll just give you some ideas here. You become a beautician, you become really good, and then you make enough money where you can buy a place where you can have a beautician um, business, and then you rent out spaces to other beauticians, and you use the money from that to buy the property. So you're basically a real estate investor buying your office building that you have, or your beautician business building, and you're just using your beautician skills to be able to acquire real estate, right? And you just keep setting up these different offices like this. I've seen people do this. So just about anything can work like that. You can do plumbing, electrician work like that. Use it to buy buildings and real estate. You could buy a home and make it into an office if it's owned right, and run a business out of there. So, and use the business to buy the real estate. And the real estate just goes up in value and so on. And there's all kinds of tax shelters. So these are just some of the things you can do. Okay. And then you want to get to know people who can help you do these kinds of things. So people in real estate, people in a beautician thing, if that's what you're going to do, or people who know how to do whatever kind of work it is you want to do, where you can talk to them, get advice from them, get mentoring from them. You can look around. There's lots of people who are willing to help people. And there's probably people in the community of people you hang out with that know people who can do these kind of things. So you want to develop and cultivate your friendships with people like that. Um, but I do think, like I was saying before, just to go back to that a little bit, you need, I think an online side gig is a good way to start. You don't want to quit your job, just want to get a basic job if that's all you can do. And then have some kind of side gig like this that you can work on online. I think is the preferred way to do it nowadays, because you want to have as much freedom of time and place as you can. That's another way to measure your wealth, is what freedom of time and place do you have? What can you choose your hours when you're going to work, or where you're going to work, what you want to be able to decide when you're going to do what you have to do to make a living, and you want to be able to do it from anywhere you want to do it from. I would just make that one of your goals. The other thing is, like I said, don't ask for advice from people who aren't in a situation that you want to be in, financially or personally or any other way. Um, I mean, you can listen to what they say, but in the end, you're the one that has to make the decision because you live with the results of it. And that brings me to the last thing, and that is you got to own it. You got to own your life, right? Now, I'm going to tell you something. If you get in your car and you go out and you drive it and you park at a red light at an intersection, somebody runs into you from behind, well, it's your fault. Now, does that mean you're not going to have them use their insurance company to pay for the damages? Does that mean they don't get a ticket from the police? No, all those things are true. But the reason why this happened is because you got in your car, you decided to get in your car and you drove there and you parked and stopped at this light, right? It never would have happened had you not done that. So even though you can say to yourself, well, I didn't do anything wrong, it doesn't matter. You're in the position you're in because you made your decisions. That's to the extent you have to go to own yourself. And why? Because then you start asking yourself questions. You ask yourself a lot of questions about why are people not hiring me? Why am I not making more money? If you sit around and you say, well, the guy ran into me, it's his fault, then you put yourself in a position where there's nothing you could do about it. You're just a victim, right? Everybody and everything is doing things to you, and there's just no way out, right? You can never let anybody own anything that's happened to you in your life. You have to own it all. Own it all. Because that gives you the power to act and do something about it. You go to a job interview and you say those people were evil and they were bad and they were biased and blah, blah, blah. How's that going to help you? How's it going to give you any power? You go to a job interview and you come back and you say to yourself, well, I didn't get hired. What did I do wrong? What could I have done better? Why didn't they hire me? What are my issues? See, then that's power to change. That's power to do something about it so the next time you get hired. And I will tell you a little thing that will be very helpful. And I think this is, well, it's actually a really big, important thing. I always try to think about what you can do for other people. So, like if you're in a job interview, most people will sit there, they'll have sweaty palms, like, do I look okay? Am I saying the right thing? Did I put on the right clothes? All of that kind of stuff. That's kind of a self-centered approach if you think about it. You're just thinking about yourself and all your own issues, right? When you go to a job interview, you want to be looking at the people that are interviewing you. Look at the expression on their face. Well, why did they have that expression? What is it they're looking for? How can I help them solve whatever problems they want to solve by hiring me? See, that's going to be something that's good and valuable to people. And they're going to sense that in you and they're going to figure, well, if I hire this person, they're going to help me solve my problems. And so that's always what you want to do is go around and try to think of all the ways you can help people that will be worth a lot of money to people. I mean, if you figure out a way to help somebody do something, but it's just not that valuable, you're not going to get paid a lot for it. But there's a lot of things you can do for people to help them that might be worth a lot of money. I mentioned some of those things as possible side gigs, but you can do your research and see all the possible online or work from home kind of things. And you don't even have to do that if you don't want to. If you want to go out, I mean, you could do landscaping. There's all kinds of things you can do. More freedom of time and place, which I think is a big part of being wealthy. That's another measurement of wealth is freedom of time and place. So these are just a few of my ideas about it and from how I've helped people get raise their income, raise their standard of living, get out of poverty, and all of that. So there's a lot more to it, and it might be good if you can find somebody that can help you. But just keep in mind if you have people that are helping you get out of poverty and they're poor, well, good luck with that. That's all I can say. You really need to try to find some way to get information from people, especially people who might have come from a poverty situation similar to your own. That would be, they might have a lot of ideas too. So these are just some of my suggestions, and I hope it helps. Now, there's other things you can do, and I'll just mention one other thing is once you start making some money, you always need some money to maybe help you with your side gig or do some other type of things, right? And if you have to discipline yourself to try to get some money saved up or whatever, it just becomes difficult. So set up systems to do that. There's a video in our videos called the 70% rule. You can watch that. But it's basically the idea, and it doesn't have to be 70%. It's the idea is that you figure a certain percentage of the income you're making that you're going to live on. So let's say 70%. And that's it. You pretend that it's 70% of the take home pay is all the income you've got. You take the other 30%, you set it aside to help you get out of poverty through setting up a side gig, researching other things you can do, building your skills, things like that. You got to invest in yourself and make yourself more valuable. And that's how you budget for it. So when the money comes in, it's automatically just transferred. You don't have to do it or think about it. It's just automatically transferred into a separate account where you use it for these kinds of things. Your get out of poverty and your multi generational wealth creation account. You call it whatever you want.